Daniel let the coffee spill. The paper cup slipped from his fingers and burst against the sidewalk,
Oh
brown
my
liquid spreading toward polished
goodness,
shoes
what
that
a
quickly stepped away from him.
life!
Someone hissed in disgust. Another person muttered an insult. A third didn't even slow down. Daniel stayed still. He pulled the thin jacket tighter around his body and lowered himself back onto the ground. His back hurt. His pride hurt more. This was the first morning he had ever sat on concrete instead of leather. A week ago, he had woken up in a penthouse overlooking the city. That morning he woke up to hunger. "Spare some change?" he said, his voice rougher than he expected. No one answered. An hour passed. Then another. Coins remained scarce. Looks of annoyance were plentiful. A man stopped, stared at him, then laughed. "You look healthy enough. Stop begging." He kicked the empty cup toward Daniel's knee and walked away. Daniel closed his eyes and breathed through it. He reminded himself why he was here. For years, love had been a transaction. Women smiled wider when they learned his last name. Conversations shifted the moment they saw his car. Every relationship came with expectations wrapped in affection. He didn't want that anymore. He wanted to know if anyone could love him when he was nothing. By late afternoon, his stomach twisted painfully. He hadn't eaten since yesterday. That was when a shadow stopped in front of him. A woman crouched down and picked up his cup. "Your money's going to blow away," she said softly. Daniel looked up, surprised. She wasn't dressed well. Her shoes were worn at the soles. Her eyes were tired but alert. She placed a small wrapped sandwich into his hand. He frowned. "You don't have to do that." "I know," she said. "I want to." She sat beside him without asking permission. "I'm Maya." "Daniel." She nodded once like names were simple things. They ate quietly. After a moment she spoke again. "How long have you been out here?" "Not long," Daniel said carefully. She smiled sadly. "It always starts that way." He glanced at her. "You come here often?" "Every day. After work." "What do you do?" "Whatever pays," she replied. "Cleaning offices at night. Helping my aunt during the day. It's enough to survive." Daniel swallowed. "That sounds exhausting." She shrugged. "So is pretending you're fine when you're not." That hit him harder than hunger. When she stood to leave, she hesitated. "I'll bring soup tomorrow. If you're here." "I'll be here," he said before thinking. She smiled. "Good." That night Daniel slept badly. Every noise startled him. Every ache reminded him how soft his life had been. Yet when morning came he stayed. True to her word, Maya returned. Then she came again the next day. And the next. They talked. About disappointment. About hope. About the strange ways life strips people down without warning. Daniel never told her about the boardrooms or the billions. He talked about mistakes instead. About chasing the wrong things. One evening, rain started suddenly. Daniel shook, teeth chattering. Maya pulled off her scarf and wrapped it around his neck. "You'll get sick," he said. "So will you if I don't," she replied. He looked at her, really looked at her, and felt something unfamiliar tighten in his chest. "Why are you so kind to me?" he asked quietly. Maya looked away. "Because once, when I was at my lowest, someone helped me without asking for anything back. I promised myself I'd do the same." Daniel nodded, throat tight. That night, lying on cardboard, he admitted the truth to himself. He was in love. And for the first time in his life, it had nothing to do with money. But the lie between them was growing heavier by the day, and deep down, Daniel knew it couldn't stay buried forever. Daniel started to notice the small things first. The way Maya always counted her money twice before buying food. How she flinched when people raised their voices. How she avoided talking about her family beyond her aunt. These weren't the habits of someone simply getting by. They were survival instincts. One evening he asked gently, "Do you ever get tired of all this?" She laughed, but it sounded hollow. "Every single day." "Then why keep going?" Maya looked at him for a long moment. "Because stopping means you drown. And I've drowned before." He didn't push further. Instead, he began saving the coins people tossed him, not for himself, but to offer them to her. Every time he tried, she refused. "That's yours," she insisted. "I don't need much," he replied. She shook her head. "Pride is the only thing that keeps you human when life strips everything else away. Don't give it up." Those words stayed with him. Weeks passed. Daniel stopped thinking about penthouses and profit margins. His world shrank to street corners, shared meals, and conversations that felt more real than anything he'd experienced in years. One afternoon, Maya sat beside him more quietly than usual. "What's wrong?" Daniel asked. She hesitated. My aunt's stall, the landlord's raising rent again. We might lose it. Daniel's chest tightened. His instincts screamed to fix it. One call, one transfer, and the problem would disappear. Instead, he clenched his fists. I'm sorry, he said softly. She nodded. I'll figure something out. I always do. That night, Daniel couldn't sleep. The power to help sat heavy inside him like a sin. This test was starting to feel cruel. The next day, Maya didn't come. Daniel waited. Then waited longer. By evening, panic set in. His mind spiraled with worst-case scenarios. Had something happened to her? Had she gotten sick? Arrested? Hurt? When she finally appeared, her face was pale and her eyes rimmed red. I'm sorry, she said immediately. I couldn't come yesterday. What happened? He asked. She exhaled shakily. I almost lost everything. Again. Daniel leaned closer. You don't have to go through it alone. She looked at him sharply. Neither do you. They stared at each other, something unspoken passing between them. That night, Daniel reached for her hand. She didn't pull away. The touch was simple. No rush. No expectation. Just warmth. I don't know what tomorrow looks like, Maya said quietly. I don't either, Daniel replied. But I know I want to face it with you. She smiled, eyes glossy. You say that like it's easy. It's terrifying, he admitted. But it feels right. From that moment they were inseparable. They shared plans they didn't know how to reach. Dreams that felt dangerous to speak aloud. For the first time, Daniel understood love without leverage. But the weight of the lie kept growing. One night, as they watched traffic blur past, Maya said, Promise me something. Anything. If things ever change for you, if you suddenly get lucky, don't forget who you were before. Daniel's heart pounded. I promise, he said, though the words felt fragile. The very next day he got a call he had been dreading. His assistant. Sir, the board is panicking. You've been missing for weeks. We need you. Daniel stared at the phone long after the call ended. The test was over. He had found love. Now he had to decide whether to risk losing it forever by telling the truth. Daniel didn't sleep that night. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw Maya's face when she smiled at him, the way she trusted him without hesitation. By morning the guilt felt unbearable. When she arrived later that day, he stood up before she could sit. We need to talk, he said. Her smile faded. That sounds serious. It is. They walked a short distance away from the street corner, somewhere quieter. Daniel's hands shook. There's something I've been hiding from you, he began. Maya crossed her arms, wary but calm. Okay. I'm listening. I didn't come here because life just happened, he said slowly. I chose this. She frowned. What do you mean? I'm not poor, he said. Not the way you think. The words hung in the air. Maya laughed once nervously. That's not funny. I'm serious. She studied his face, searching for a joke that never came. Daniel, stop. I own companies, he continued, voice tight. Buildings. More money than I know what to do with. I came here to see if someone could love me without it. Maya stepped back. You're lying. I can prove it. He pulled out his phone, showing her bank accounts, news articles, photos. Evidence she couldn't dismiss. Her face drained of color. So this was what? She asked, voice rising. An experiment? No, he said quickly. It was fear. I was tired of being wanted for the wrong reasons. Then I met you and everything changed. She shook her head, eyes shining with anger. You let me feed you. You let me worry about you. You watched me struggle while you could have helped. I didn't want to ruin what we had, he pleaded. I wanted you to love me for me. Maya laughed bitterly. And you thought lying was the way to do that? She turned away. Maya, please. She faced him again, tears spilling now. Do you have any idea how humiliating this feels? I trusted you. I told you things I've never told anyone. I know, he whispered. And I hate myself for it. Then why did you do it? She demanded. Because I was scared, he said. And because loving you without money was the most real thing I've ever felt. She wiped her face, breathing hard. I don't know who you are, she said finally. And I don't think I can look at you right now. Maya. Don't, she snapped. Just don't. She walked away, not looking back. Daniel stood frozen as the woman he loved disappeared into the crowd. That night he returned to the street corner alone. For the first time since he'd arrived, the city felt empty. Days passed. Maya didn't come back. Daniel stopped begging. He barely ate. He sat there replaying every word, every moment, wondering how honesty could hurt so much. Finally, his assistant found him. "You're destroying everything," she said, exasperated. "The board is ready to replace you. Come home." Daniel shook his head. "Not yet." He stood, brushed off his clothes, and made a decision. If money had broken her trust, then money wouldn't be the thing that won it back. He walked away from the street, heart heavy, convinced he had failed the one test that mattered. What he didn't know was that Maya was watching him from across the road. And she was smiling. Maya waited until Daniel disappeared down the street before she moved. She exhaled slowly, reached into her bag, and pulled out a phone that had never once touched the pavement or a cracked screen. With one swipe, she made a call. "Yes," she said calmly. "It's time." 2 days later, Daniel received a message from an unknown number. "Come to the address below. Tonight. If you want closure." He almost ignored it. Almost. But something in his chest twisted, and he knew. When he arrived, the building alone made his breath hitch. Tall. Guarded. Private. This was no small office or cafe. A man in a suit stopped him at the entrance. "Mr. Royce, they're expecting you." Daniel froze. "They?" The doors opened. The elevator rose in silence. When it stopped, he stepped out into a rooftop space overlooking the entire city. Soft lights. Security. Quiet power humming in the air. And there stood Maya. Not in worn shoes. Not in borrowed clothes. She wore a tailored suit, calm and confident, like someone who had never begged for anything in her life. Daniel stared stunned. "Maya, what is this?" She smiled gently. "The truth." Before he could speak, she gestured around them. "I own this building. And 6 others like it." He shook his head. "That's not funny." "I know," she said. "That's why I'm not joking." She handed him a tablet. Numbers. Names. Holdings. Her name. Daniel's knees went weak. You're richer than you," she finished softly. Silence fell between them. "You lied to me," he said, almost in disbelief. "So did you," she replied without anger. She stepped closer. "I didn't clean offices. I bought them. I didn't worry about rent. I worried about people loving me for what I own." Daniel laughed suddenly, breathless, overwhelmed. "You were testing me." "Yes," she said. "Just like you tested me." His laugh broke into a shaky exhale. "So when you fed me, when you sat with me." "That was real," she said firmly. "Every word. Every moment." "Even when you walked away?" She nodded. "I needed to know if you'd choose me without your power. Without fixing things with money." Daniel swallowed. "I did." "I know," she said. "That's why you're here." Tears burned his eyes. "I thought I lost you." "You almost did," she admitted. "But not because you were rich. Because you were afraid." He stepped closer, voice cracking. "I've never felt this exposed in my life." "Good," Maya said softly. "Neither have I." They stood there, city lights stretching endlessly below them. "2 idiots," Daniel murmured. Maya laughed. "2 liars. 2 people who didn't know how to trust." She reached for his hand. This time he didn't hesitate. "No more tests," she said. "No more masks," he agreed. They smiled, relief washing over them like a tide. Later, as they watched the city, Daniel shook his head in disbelief. "You know people won't believe this story." Maya smiled. "Then let them watch. And maybe that's why you're still here. Because this wasn't just a love story. It was proof that real love survives when money disappears, pride is stripped away, and 2 people meet as nothing more than human." If this story surprised you, hit the like button. If you believe love should be tested by the heart, not the wallet, drop a comment below. And if you want more stories that shock, move, and stay with you long after the screen goes dark, subscribe to the channel. Because the next story? It might change the way you see everything.